everyone. I'm attorney Aiden Durham with 180 Law Co. in Denver, Colorado, and welcome back to All Up in Your Business. So if you watched my last video, you know that we are talking all about online businesses this week, primarily in light of the coronavirus pandemic. A lot of people are in tough situations where they're losing their jobs or income and are needing to find some way to supplement their income or replace it by working from home without leaving their houses. And for the most part, that means some kind of online business. And so today, we're going to talk about one of the most important elements of starting an online business or having any online presence, which is terms and conditions for your website. But before we get into it, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and check the description for some links to additional information and resources too. So terms and conditions. These may also be called terms of use or terms of service. Whatever you call them, terms and conditions are an absolutely necessary piece of documentation for any website. Any business that has any kind of website needs terms and conditions. Now, you don't need it like it's legally required. There's no law that specifically requires a website to have terms and conditions, but it's still something that's totally very, very important. So what is it? The terms and conditions it's your agreement as the website operator with the visitors of your website. It's the agreement between the two of you of what they can and can't do on your website and what you are offering to website visitors. Really, it governs the entire use of your website, and the terms and conditions really help to protect your business and your website altogether, and then it also helps to protect your website visitors. So like I said, this is important for every website and every type of business that has a website, even if it's just a informational website where you have info about your services and your contact information. If that's all your website is, you still really need some terms and conditions for your website. And then as we move forward from that, if it's a blog, if you're operating a blog, or if you're selling products or services, or selling a online course or an online membership, online subscriptions, then the terms and conditions need to get a bit more in depth and a bit more detailed because of what your website users are going to be doing on your website and how that interaction with your website is going to go down. So there are a few common things that pretty much every terms and conditions is going to include. The first is going to be just information about the website and the business that's operating it. So, you want to say, welcome to such and such website operated by such and such business. Here's our contact information. These terms and conditions govern your use of our website. That's a pretty common introductory paragraph for terms and conditions. It's just letting people know, hey, you've landed on our website, and in order for you to use it, here are the things that you're going to agree to. And so going into that, another big part of the terms and conditions is permitted use of the website. What can your users do on the website? Like, who's allowed to access your website? It's pretty common to give age restrictions due to privacy requirements. It's pretty common to say something like people under the age of 16 or under the age of 18 aren't permitted to use this website and shouldn't be using it. And then other permitted uses would be like what kind of content the users can upload. If you have a blog and you permit comments, what kinds of things can they comment on? If it's a membership site where there's like a message board and people can upload or share things, what kinds of things can and can't they share or upload? And then related to your content on the website, the terms and conditions will usually have some restriction about, you can't download and copy our content or our photos or, the copy on our website. So this part really helps to protect your content on the website and the stuff that you're putting out there, so people don't just, copy and paste or forward your content to somebody else. If you are operating some kind of subscription or a membership site where people have to log in to get access, then your terms and conditions should cover that too. Like what the payment requirements are, and then any access requirements for setting a login name and password, and steps that the user should take to keep their security and privacy of their account, and any other terms related to what's needed for the user to access that content. Another really important element of the terms and conditions for an online business or website is limitations of liability. Now, exactly how the limitations of liability looks is going to vary because not every state treats waivers of liability and things like this in the same way. But generally, you're going to be limiting your liability so that if, let's say, you operate a blog or some kind of informational website where you give some advice or information to people, if someone sees that information and runs with it and has a bad result, they might try to sue you because of it, because they took your advice or your information from your website and it didn't work out for them. So the limitations of liability can help to avoid that kind of a situation. And then they'll also include some kind of a disclaimer or a liability limitation related to any third-party links or applications that are on your website. So again, let's say you're operating a blog and you have linked to other products or other services that you really enjoy. If one of your website visitors clicks that link, signs up for that service that you discussed, and that service doesn't do a good job, that person may try to come back and sue you because of it. So again, this disclaimer and limitation of liability is going to make it clear that you as the website operator aren't liable or responsible for what your website visitors do if they interact with your links or if they interact with other applications on your website. And then the final little bit of info that needs to be in your terms and conditions is some information about privacy. Now, you need, whereas terms and conditions aren't actually needed, you do need a privacy policy. And I'm going to talk about that on tomorrow's video, so make sure you check back for that. But once you've got your privacy policy, you want to reference it in your terms and conditions, just so when people are reading through the terms and conditions, they know that there's this other agreement concerning what's going to happen when they interact with your website. And so now that we know what's important to be included in the terms and conditions, why does it matter? We know that this is an agreement with the people who visit your website, and we know what we're trying to accomplish, but why? What's the goal with the terms and conditions? Number one, it prevents any kind of abuse of your website. So it helps to prevent people, hacking in to your website or trying to reverse engineer any element of it. It prevents people from posting offensive comment if you have comments enabled, or if there is user-generated content. It makes sure that they're not posting, offensive language or offensive photos or anything like that, which could in the end come back to bite you as the website operator. It also, of course, protects your intellectual property and your content. All of the photos on your website, the copy, any downloadable content, any content on your website, it belongs to you, and you are letting people use it temporarily while they're accessing your website. So these terms and conditions helps to protect the extent to which your users can interact with and use the intellectual property on your website. And then it gives you more control over the access of your users. This is especially important if you have some kind of a membership or something where people have to log in to access your content. These terms and conditions let you set forth how you control their user account. So it allows you to terminate a user's account if you need to, if they are posting something that they shouldn't be able to, or it lets you suspend an account if they're not paying their fees. If this stuff isn't written out in an agreement, it's going to be really hard to enforce. So the terms and conditions for your membership site or your website are going to be that spot where all of that is set forth of how you can control whether or not someone is able to use their user account on your website. Of course, as we discussed, it lets you limit your liability so you're not getting in legal trouble because of the information on your website or information that you link to on your website. And then lastly, a little bit of a benefit is that it lets you designate the law and potentially the jurisdiction that's going to apply. So if there is some legal issue, you can say in your terms and conditions that the law of this state is going to apply and any legal issues will be handled in this state or this jurisdiction. So it gives you some reassurance that your terms and conditions are going to be analyzed in accordance with the law of your state. And that's typically what you'll want to put is the state where you're in or the state where your business is organized. But so it lets you determine which laws are going to apply if a legal issue does arise. So like I said, terms and conditions are totally important for every website, regardless of the nature of the website or what it's doing. It's important for every website, but exactly what's going to be included in it and exactly what the terms and conditions needs to say is going to be completely dependent on the business and the website itself and what it's offering. That's all for this episode, folks. Be sure to check back tomorrow to learn about privacy policies and why those are super important for your online business too. If you missed yesterday, go back and check out that video where we talk about how to start an online business without leaving your house and types of businesses that you can start. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Aiden Durham, and I'll see you next time.